Okay, that's some application from the first of the Pyan Dan forms. Let's get into Pyan Dan E for a second. I want to start off with the very first move. What you have here is a block like this, followed by this technique, a lifting of the leg into a punch, and what I call a bow and arrow stance. This is out of the Chuan Fa tradition. You've got this movement, and it's repeated on the right side before we go to here. Okay? I want to look at two of the very simple motions in this first sequence that I think couch very effective technique. From this position, what we have is the lifting of the knee, setting down into a punch. So as I lift, I commit my balance forward and land into the punch. There's a very easy application of this in a fighting sequence, particularly if you're dealing with somebody that knows how to kick. A very easy way to drain the energy of a kick is to deflect it by simply raising the knee or jamming the kick. We use this a lot when we spar. So if I believe he's going to attack me, let's say he goes for a front snap kick, I can jam that kick here. So if we're getting into a fighting situation, I want you to throw a side kick. Here, I can jam the kick and fall in on top of him. Okay? So if a guy goes to strike low, I can jam it and fall into it here. It's a very easy application. So we use this a lot when we do kumite. I jam the kick, and at that point, he's extended his kick, is jammed. His yang technique has reached its end, and now he's going to retreat back into yin. And so as he goes to retreat his energy, that's when I want to act with yang. This is my yin, and as I fall into it, I'm acting with yang to counterbalance his retreating into yin. That's what makes it most effective. In a fight situation, I want to learn to time things properly. When he punches, as he goes to retreat or return, that's when I act here. I don't wait. You know, if he punches, I don't wait for him to reset because we're back at stage one. I want to time things to where if I'm attacked, before he retreats, I've exploded on him with my yang as he retreats into yin, if that makes any sense. And I see this jamming technique as a way to do that. He goes to kick, I jam it, boom, and I'm here as he retreats into yin. And that's what we see in the kata. We see the jam followed by setting down into the punch. Very simple technique. As we come around from this side and it turns to face forward, we see the right leg brought to the left knee into almost what looks like a crane stance, and I've got my chamber fist set here, and the kata continues in this fashion. I want to look for a moment at this movement here. I think here we have an interesting application couch. If somebody's going to grab me from behind, let's say he's much more powerful, and he's going to come behind, wrap me up, and lift me off the ground. Oh, like a big old dude. Maybe he wants to lift me and slam me down. Maybe he wants to pick me up and just throw me down. Ah, like so. And of course that could be brutal if he wanted to be powerful with it. A very simple way to keep him from being able to toss you if you're picked up from behind is to, as he picks you up, hook his leg. Now you see, I've brought my right leg, I've hooked it around his, and I'm touching the inside of my left leg, just like in the kata. So I want him to try to pick me up. I'm just going to stand here normal. I want him to lift me off the ground. Okay, that's pretty easy for him. Now I want him to try it as I hook his leg. Okay, see, he can't do anything. He can't lift me and toss me. It's a very simple way to keep your opponent, to drop your center, to make yourself heavy, and to keep your opponent from being able to lift you. Now we've got this motion, this chamber position of the arm. Look at the elbow here. The elbow to the ribs or to the sternum or to the gut, there's a gallbladder meridian there that works real well in terms of pressure points, is an effective way to break his balance so that you can get out of a bear hug like this. So if he goes to lift me up, I hook the leg, And then if I don't need much space to affect the elbow. I've got this motion here, and if I need to, I can step out because I've broken his balance. Okay? So we've got this technique applied from a rear grab in which the attacker wants to literally lift you off the ground and slam you. Remember, from a rear grab where your elbows, where your arms are pinned, you don't need much space to affect that elbow, and hooking the leg will prevent him from lifting you up off the ground. Let's look at this technique here from the beginning of Pyan Dan E. If he's going to throw a punch, a way to defend against a punch is I can catch it. Let's use the left hand. So actually, let's use the right hand. It'll be fine. I'm going to grab here, and I can immediately go from this block into the grab. Okay? Anytime in the kata, a lot of times when we step forward into a punch, we'll see the blocking hand will rotate and retreat to a chamber position. This rotation of the wrist that we see in all of these forms can easily be applied as a block going from a block parry into a grab, where I'm adhering to him. I'm sticky hands, muchimi, and it keeps him from retreating. As I go to block high, bow. If I can strike him here behind the ear on triple warmer 17, I've ignited that side of the body. Okay? This crossing motion we see in the kata can easily be breaking his balance on that large intestine or lung meridian, and then following through here. I can go stomach point, I can go triple warmer on this side. So I've crossed opposite sides of the body, which is very dangerous in terms of Kyoshu Jitsu or pressure point application. So you have this motion, here, followed by the punch, okay? So again, he comes high, bow! I've struck this side of the body, I ignite the point, and then I want to come through here on the opposite side of the neck. So I've crossed the different sides of the body, igniting pressure points. If I go to the triple warmer on both sides, behind the ear, triple warmer 17, that'll be very effective. Or I can go to the stomach points, which is a straight up punch to the side of the neck. And it really doesn't matter. I'm not really into pinpointing or connecting the dots in terms of Kyoshu Jitsu or pressure point technique, because the neck is full of points. You've got your stomach meridian that comes around the jaw. You've got your small intestine meridian and your large intestine meridian that work along this muscle. So there's a whole bunch of pressure points there. Plus the ear is covered in triple warmer pressure points, the side of the head, gallbladder. So the chances are you're going to hit pressure points anywhere in this area. So the bottom of the jaw, the neck, even the side of the head. If I've set it up properly and ignited something on this side of the body like I have here, I can just crash in on the other side, and it's going to daze him enough to where he's going to think twice about attacking you again and give you the time you need to get out of there and to totally escape the situation. Okay, I want to continue looking at Pyan Dan E for a moment. We've looked at a few of the techniques from the beginning of the kata. From this position in the kata, you have a series of kicks followed by reverse punches, augmented blocks, and outside blocks. So from here, you see the snap kick followed by the reverse punch, and then I'm bringing this arm up like I'm touching a bowstring. I'm not touching the arm like an augmented, I don't know if you want to call this an augmented block or what, but from this punch, it shifts into an outside block. Attack, 1, 2. Kick, 1, 2. Then it goes into a series of knife hand blocks. The first set of 4 in this kata move along a straight line and does not use the angles, these shuto blocks. Then we turn to the rear, and you have the same section of movements unto the end, and at the end you do a series of 4 shuto blocks at angles. Okay? So I want to talk about this motion here for a minute. I had kind of a hard time understanding this here. Okay? And I think I've come up with some application. We often think of a block as standing by itself. As he goes to punch, I block, then I do something. So what we see is 1-2. Okay? It shouldn't be like this in a conflict situation. In this kata, you have the kick, the punch, and then almost immediately this augmented position comes up and it feeds into the outside block. And so I'm looking at this here. Why are we thinking block 1-2 when it can be done together? There's a real easy way to slip the punch. Bow! Here. So I've got the block. I'm parrying to the reverse, draining his energy. I'm slipping under with the palm to the chin. We've got a knife technique in our Naikiman Kumite where we utilize this principle of slipping the attack and striking simultaneously. If he goes to stab me with a straight-in shot to the gut, boom, or to the throat, I've blocked, I've re-grabbed, I've struck him with some atemi to the chin, then I'm going to come over and break the elbow by turning it back to the inside. So in the kata, you've got this motion followed by this. And I see an application of that just in this straight-up knife attack, boom, here. Okay? That's one application. Or I can use that slip strike technique to go low and follow through with a kick or a sweep. So we've got this motion, 1-2, followed by a kick on the other side here, like so. Very easy. He goes to punch. I can slip and strike low. Okay? So I've got this motion here. I'm stepping forward just like the kick. I slip up here. I can sweep him down like so. I was a little far from his body. In a real life situation, I want to be close. Bow! Here. Okay? So I believe you have an application of that sequence of movements. The sweep from the kata would be the next kick that follows. So you've got here, you've got the slip and the strike. The block is me slipping up to his shoulder on the opposite side. In the kata you would have the kick. That's applied by me coming around and using two-way action to sweep him. So those are some applications from that punch, augment, followed by the outside block. I could get really ugly with this. If he comes in, maybe he wants to grab, and I can drain his energy this way, or perhaps he goes to punch, and I drain the energy out. If I follow in right here on the conception vessel meridian in the solar plex, and I drive him through here, I can slip up and grab points here behind the ear. I've already ignited the pressure point, and I can ignite something behind the calf as well. Okay, let's get into the shuto blocks of this kata. Once I've effected that series of techniques, we've got the 4 wide shuto blocks, and it starts on the straight line. Then we go to the end of the kata, where, just like the first Pyan Dan form, they're on the angles, here, like so. Let's think on the straight line for a minute. And this is where I want to get into blending techniques, something that's very foundational to Aikido. So, in the kata, I've got my left foot forward. I'm going to step forward into the right, and then back to the right on the opposite side. I'm thinking of just a wide kind of a haymaker punch or a yokomen attack, just a thug on the street. Okay? I've got my left foot forward. He goes to attack with a wide attack let's use the left side for these purposes. I'm going to step through, strike under the jaw, and I'm going to blend with him. That's hard to show standing still. Let's get a bat or a nightstick, and he's going to come through swinging that thing in a circular motion, and from this position, I'm just going to blend with him, striking under the jaw. So I'm blending here. I've continued him in the motion he's already going. This technique actually comes out of one of the old style katas in Aikido, where the yokomen attack I step through and I blend with him. At the end of one of our forms, Ogyp form, we see the same motion here. And I believe that's what we're seeing here. I've gone to the right, I'm using the right side, and I'm turning back to the right. This is a blending motion. Again, he's swinging with the back. I'm blending under the jaw, and I'm circling around. This will work from a punch as well. And this is trying to apply the straight line rotations here. Pow! I'm right on the jaw. And I blend with him. Now this would only work if your attacker is committed in his attack. This would need to be a full-on committed attack where he's throwing the entire weight of his body as an untrained fighter would do. If he's going to punch me like a trained fighter and recoil very quickly, this wouldn't work. So I'm acknowledging that. But most untrained people on the street, when they throw a punch, it's going to be wild and they're going to commit their entire energy. It makes it real easy to redirect their force or to manipulate their motion. This same application, we turn on the straight lines, we turn here into the right, then we turn 180 degrees on the straight line back to the right. An application of this, I think, could be from a rear grab. If he's going to grab me, okay, maybe he's got me by the belt or the pants or the collar of the shirt, and he's pulling me to go with him. I'm facing this way. Instead of fighting him, I can turn and go with him and give him the motion he desires. And if I turn to the side where his hand is low, pow, I can crash in with that Gyakugame Ate that we talked about earlier, an application of the rising block. And what you see is this 180 degree turn on the straight line with the Shuto block. So again, he grabs from behind, I'm just going to blend here and drop it, giving him the motion he desires and using it to my advantage. That's where a weaker opponent can defeat a stronger opponent. A lot of the things couched within these katas give an advantage to a physically weaker opponent because it's showing how to redirect force. And that's one of the foundational principles of indigenous Chang Moo Kwan, as I understand it, based on my study, is redirection of force. That's also a key element of Aikido. And I find it very interesting that in my heritage, in my martial arts heritage, along the lineage that goes back to Namsuk Lee and In Yun Byung in Korea, Aikido has made its way into the family tree. My late instructor, who was killed in 2010, held a multi-level black belt in Aikido. The Carolina Karate Association, which was founded in 1975, in its organizational document described Karakata as involving principles of Aikido. So I find it interesting how Chang Moo Kwan and Aikido both share the conviction, or they see the value of redirection of force, and both of these styles have their place in my lineage. So I just find that very interesting. Let's go to the end of the kata, Pyan Dan E, where we turn on the angles. Okay? So from this punch, I'm going to turn here with a full twist, and then I'm going to go to the right on an angle, back this side, and on the angle. An application of that on the angle, we could use a knife, we could use a bat, whatever. This comes right out of our knife ippon kumite. He's coming in to strike me in the temple. This could be what the Japanese call a yokomen strike or a shuto strike to the side. Again, he's committing his energy. And the way this works, if he goes back to attack me in our knife ippon kumite, if I can catch him going back, I've got Gyakugame Ate, or I've got the rising block where I can take his rearward motion and continue him in that direction. However, if he starts to come forward, this isn't going to work. If he's stronger than me, the knife's going to crash in. That's where I have to alter my motion and blend with his. And this is where I see this full rotation on the angles with the Shuto block coming into play. As he comes forward, I'm going to step in and blend. You've seen my three-quarter move, and then I'm going to rotate him over on the angle for the arm bar. Okay? So, you've got this motion, the left side, followed by the right side on the angle. What you're going to see is this left side rotation as he attacks. I'm going to come here, and then you're going to see the right side I'm stepping toward a right angle to get him, roll him over into the arm pin. So that would be an application of the Shuto blocks on the angles at the end of both Pyan Dan Il and Pyan Dan E. You also see these angled Shuto blocks at the end of Pyan Dan O. We're not going to get in that column today.